All right, we have some news today from CD Projekt. They are working on 3 Witcher games, a new Cyberpunk, and a new IP. So this is fairly interesting. So let's read through this article from IGN to find out what they are working on. So CD Projekt Red has announced the code names and brief descriptions for 5 new games, including 3 Witcher games, a new Cyberpunk, and a brand new IP. Revealed on Twitter, it marks a major step for the developer in multiple respects, from developing its own IP from scratch to developing multiple full-size games at one time. In a separate release, the company says it is also adding multiplayer to the majority of future projects. So this is very interesting. So it looks like there will be multiplayer in the new Witcher games, which will, obviously be very different than the previous 3 Witcher games that we've seen. This also marks the first time that we've learned the new Witcher trilogy will not be the only new games set in that universe. So actually, that makes me very excited. We have had some other games. So we have Gwent, which is a card game. We have Thronebreaker, which is also like kind of, well, it's a card game but with RPG elements. So I'm very glad to hear that there'll be more Witcher games. So that's great news. Okay, so let's look at the 5 games that they're working on. So the first one is called, the project is called Orion. And it's a code name for the next Cyberpunk game, which will take the Cyberpunk franchise further and continue harnessing the potential of this dark future universe. That's a quote from CD Projekt Twitter. Orion will be developed by a brand new CD Projekt studio in the US. So that's very interesting. So they are setting up a new studio in America. Okay, well, Cyberpunk, I bought it a few days after the release, and honestly, it was one of the worst games I've ever played. I don't know how. Obviously, I've heard that they've patched it many times by now, so I'm assuming it's a much better game these days. But when you compare it to something like GTA 5, which was released how many years ago now? 10, 9? I was very disappointed with that game, but I know there is like a TV show now as well, TV series, about in Cyberpunk, in the Cyberpunk universe. So yeah, we'll see where where this one goes. I just hope it's better than the first Cyberpunk. Then we have Polaris. It's a code name for the next installment in the Witcher series of games, which we recently announced was in pre-production. In the beginning of a new saga, we aim to release 2 more Witcher games after Polaris, creating a new AAA RPG trilogy. The full trilogy is intended to be released in a 6-year period. Okay. So that's gonna be a new Witcher trilogy, which is great. I mean, the Witcher games are one of the best games. They are, amongst the best RPGs I've ever played. Witcher 3 being the best one, obviously, but Witcher 2 I liked. Well, I liked all of them. Witcher 2 I loved, but Witcher 3 obviously absolutely great. So yeah, more of that, which is great. Then we've got Canis Majoris, a full-fledged Witcher game separate to the new Witcher saga, starting with Polaris. It will be developed by an external studio headed by experienced developers who have worked on past Witcher games. It is not currently clear which developer is working on this project. Okay, so we have the Witcher trilogy, the new Witcher trilogy, and then we've got this separate Witcher game, which could be anything really. So I'm very interested to learn more details about this one. Then we've got Sirius, a code name for the game developed by the Molasses Flood, set in the Witcher universe and created with support from CD Projekt Red. It will differ from our past productions, offering multiplayer gameplay on top of a single player experience, including a campaign with quests and story. Okay, so another Witcher game with multiplayer and single player. So how many Witcher games we're looking at now? 5. 3 games in a new trilogy, and then these 2. Okay, and then we've got the last one is called Hadar, or Haydar, I don't know, Haydar, a codename for a third entirely distinct IP created from scratch within CD Projekt. The project is in its earliest stages of the creative process, which means we are not developing any game yet, but working exclusively on the foundation for this new setting. Okay, and obviously all these are quotes from CD Projekt's Red Twitter. That's it. That's the update. I'm just thinking, let's hope they are not trying to bite more than they can chew, because this is how many years of work? How many years of work is that? Three games, like 3 games in a new saga. But I'm thinking what they're gonna do now is think about, so when you look at the past Witcher games, you look at Witcher 1, Witcher 2, and Witcher 3, and they're so different. I think they all, I'm not an expert here, but I think they all use different engines. So they are like, every game is a jump in technology. It's a jump in how the game works. So what I'm thinking they may do now with this new saga is make it more like Assassin's Creed. So they're all gonna be similar, if you see what I mean. It's gonna be more of the same, but if the game is good, that's great. That's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, to save time, I think that could be the approach that they are taking. But even with that approach, they can kind of create 3 games that are similar when it comes to the technology behind them. But then they have 2 new Witcher games and this new project and a Cyberpunk game. But they are opening a new studio, so there are some new teams that they are, obviously they must have hired more people. They have more teams. Let's just hope that these games are great. Let's just hope that when they are released, they are, I'm not gonna say 100% done, but let's say 95+% done, and people love them. I'm looking forward to all of these games. That was a quick update from me about these new games that CD Projekt Red is working on.